Hello, hello, hello. My name is Moyo Adigun, and this is the Redacted 20 Nothing Show. And I'm here with Jay. How you doing?
Good, brother. Thank you for having me again, my friend. How are you?
I've been really good, really good. It's really good to do these shows, go back to people who I interviewed so many years ago and see where their journey is. So I'm really excited to do this one because you've had some recent amazing news.
Yeah. Imagine Insights got acquired, which is always fun. Yeah. I was glad to get it over the line and to start on the new role.
Before we get into all of that, I can't wait to you to get into the details. But let's take a look back. Like around 8 years ago, we interviewed for the first time. You were doing Broken Chain, which was a jewelry business that also impacted clean water. You had a goal of like to help to raise 1 million, I think, liters of water. You had Div Inc. as well,
Yeah.
helping disadvantaged kids start businesses. And then we get into more recent news around founding Imagine, which is now being acquired. You being in Forbes 30 under 30 in 2021. So it's been a heck of a journey. I want to ask you a question going back to this first interview. I don't know if you remember, but I used to ask all my guests to try and bring in songs. Do you remember what those songs are?
Not a clue, but I have a feeling it might be the story of OJ by Jay Z. Maybe.
Story of OJ wasn't there. Story of OJ wasn't there.
No.
The one that's most relevant to now is J. Cole 1985. Because obviously he just
Okay.
dropped a new
Yes.
album. Kendrick
Yeah.
Lamar, Alright. A Tune, Retry 2, Called Your Funds, Color Purple. Tom Mitch, Water Baby, and Tokyo Myers, Baltimore. Any of those songs still in your playlist?
Tokyo Myers for sure. Kendrick always. Cole, not so much, you know. I haven't listened to Cole in ages. I need to actually know. I'm gonna put it onto my Spotify now to
That's
listen
what
to
I'm
the new
saying.
Cole
So
album.
I need to listen to it as well, to be honest. So
Yeah, for
thank you
real.
for this interview, pushing me to do it. So I appreciate that. I also want to take it back with this interview because you've mentioned this person as well, Mr. Right. So if you don't remember, this was someone that really helped you in on your
Yeah.
journey. Someone that kind of gave you a binary option of you're going to go this path or you're going to end up in jail or even worse. Have you said in that interview that you're trying to find him on LinkedIn? I think you've told Forbes as well that you're still looking for him. Any update?
No, still not able to find him. Mr. Right with a W, still one of my favorite human beings ever. Still never found him. I literally looked everywhere, went through old school records, even contacted some teachers, and they were just like, "Yeah, no, we can't. We don't know what happened. I think he left the area he used to live in, and just that was that, boy."
That is so annoying, especially because you've had this
I
amazing
know, trust
news.
me. Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, no, it would
walk,
have been amazing to talk to him about it.
so walk us through it. I think we mentioned in the pre-conversation that Imagine got acquired. Talk us through what is Imagine and what was the process of it like being acquired.
Yeah. Firstly, thank you for having me, bro. I really appreciate you for having me on. And in a nutshell, imagine enables brands like Visa, Amazon, and Google to crowdsource qualitative insight, which is long form responses from consumers within a matter of minutes. And the whole acquisition came about. So I'm now the managing director of Disrupt Marketing, and
Mm-hmm.
Disrupt Marketing acquired Imagine Insights literally last week. It closed, and the whole acquisition came about because the chairman of the Tomorrow Group, which is the overarching group that owns Disrupt, her name is Tina. She's absolutely awesome, and Tina reached out to me and was like, "Hey, um, the previous MD of Disrupt was leaving. She was like, I would love to bring you in as MD." And I was like, that sounds great, but obviously I run my own company, so I can't step in as MD somewhere else. And she said, hey, you know what? I would love to have you involved, and I think actually acquiring Imagine could make that happen. Bring you in as MD, it'll make that easier, but also it'll be great to bring Imagine into the fold. So it was a great conversation. It started there, and then we are where we are today. So met Tina. She wanted to bring me on as MD, which meant acquire and Imagine would make that much easier. So
Mm.
it's what happened, and then yeah. So now Imagine's part of the wider group, which is really exciting, and the whole team, my co-founder, and the whole team from Imagine's come across, and we're all part of
That's
the
even
all
better.
part of the house here at Disrupt. and Tomorrow Group.
That's amazing. How did Tina come across like your profile, your brand? Because I still like follow you on LinkedIn. Was it that just you raising your profile, her
Yeah.
seeing the work that you've done with Imagine?
Exactly right. Yeah, yeah. So I, as you know, I'm a prolific poster on LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram and whatever. Um, and Tina had seen me obviously doing my thing on LinkedIn and socials, and she seen me
Wow.
actually speak at a few conferences. She'd seen me speak at a few conferences around the world, and so she'd heard me firsthand. She did her due diligence and asked around about me. So,
Oh,
and I actually I put a video about this on TikTok the other day saying like my business got acquired because I post content on social media. Because
crazy.
really, if you pull it to the seed of it, it's she'd seen me on socials, which then led to her seeing me in real life, which then led to her thinking, okay, let me reach out to this person. So it wasn't that the business was acquired because I was posting on socials, but because I was posting on socials, we were able to be
She got
seen.
to see it.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
which is cool, which is great. So yes, so it's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad to be where I am today.
I read recently in a drum article that you done that you said you hadn't had a boss for 7 years. So what's it like? What's that transition gonna feel like for you to go back working under someone? I say go back. I don't know if you ever not. I don't know if you've had a boss in longer than 7 years. To be honest.
Yeah, no. So I had a so I've worked in sales all my life. So I've worked in
Mm.
sold security alarms in Harlesden in northwest London. I've sold houses across London. So I've done all of the above. So I've had lots of bosses, some good, not some not so good. But my current one is amazing. So Tina and I get on really really well. She's got a great vision for the business and got a great vision of where she wants the Tomorrow Group to go and disrupt to grow specifically, which is really exciting for me because I need to follow somebody that's got a big vision. She's got a big vision.
Mm.
And from my perspective, it's been good. Having a boss is wonderful just because a lot of the things I used to worry about, a lot of things I used to stress about, they're not on my plate anymore. They're not for me. They're
Yeah.
not for me to think about. My role is to think about building the brand and getting the brand out there and enabling us to fill the top of that funnel. So bring leads in for the wider business. That's my focus. And then also outside of that, we've got an amazing team here at Disrupt, but also at Tomorrow Group. We've got amazing people like our COO Flo, who's absolutely phenomenal at what she does, and the operations team and the finance team, and we've got all these people that are very, very good at what they do, much better at what they do than what I do, and the amazing thing is I can now just entrust things to them that before I was holding myself,
Mm.
which is amazing. So it's now nice to be able to go, okay, I can focus on what I feel like I'm designed to do and what I'm good at, and just trust other people to do the things that they're designed to do and they're good at, which has been a lot of fun for sure.
That's so interesting and quite refreshing because I see you as someone who is constantly building, always wants to build the next business. So it's quite surprising for me to hear that you're kind of comfortable being in not necessarily the founder role, but just maybe more comfortable just the execute role. If that makes sense, because I think as
Yeah,
a founder, there's probably a lot more you have to take care of that you don't want to do.
yeah, for real. And I think the common misconception is we make entrepreneurship sound so sexy, sound so exciting, and sound so fun. But really, for 7 years, it was just hard graft. Yeah, you have the
Mm.
speaking on stages. Yeah, you have the Forbes announcements and all those other bits and pieces. That's kind of just whatever it may be. But when it comes down to it, you're up at 2 a.m. trying to fix things on the tech side, or you're up at 2 a.m. because clients in the US need something, whatever it may be. You just for both my co-founder and I, it was just hard graft. There was no quick route to get to where we are today. Um, so I think from my perspective, in my old age now, 35, I've just learnt through the years of building things that yeah, building stuff is great, and I will definitely build stuff in the future for sure. Don't get that wrong, but right now I'm thoroughly happy with just being in a great role, working with a great team, doing things that I love, and building things that I enjoy. And I think it's we make entrepreneurship look so sexy. We make having a job look less sexy. Where I actually
Mhm.
think is as long as you're happy and you're doing something you're happy about and you're enjoying, then do that. And I think it's a common misconception around entrepreneurship, one of my dreams now is to try and pop that bubble and just remind people that
Yeah.
hey, it's okay to have a full time job. Like live your best life, enjoy yourself. Whatever makes you happy, do that. And if that's being an entrepreneur, do that. If it's not,
Hmm.
then entrepreneurship isn't for everybody. It doesn't always end in an outcome like mine and some of my friends.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess it sometimes does, but it always has to come after that hard graft. Because if we take a look
Mm,
back to
mm,
2018, when we talk about things like Broken Chain and Divink, like you have put in like the hours that you would say. So
Yeah.
what do
Yeah.
you, what type of impact do you think like Broken Chain and had on your career so far?
Yeah. Yeah, really good question. Well, the interesting thing is, Imagine wouldn't have existed if we didn't have Divink, and Divink wouldn't have existed if I didn't have Broken Chain. And you could take that back. I started my first business when I was 14 in secondary school, so you can take that back to the nth degree. But I
Legacy,
think
legacy
yeah,
t-shirts.
exactly legacy t-shirts, exactly right. I started that in secondary school, and the the Div Inc. side of things, from that perspective with the business, it was very much going, okay, I I'd started something where I wanted to invest in the kids that grew up in my area in East London, and I wanted to invest specifically into black young black people, so I could help them to get a start in what they were doing. And I think if I hadn't have done that, then I wouldn't have met Sarah. So off the back of running that business, I met Sarah, who's the head of retail at the NFL. She then was like, gave me a kernel of idea, going, actually, you know what? Could we get some data from these people that would help us to create marketing campaigns, which then led me into starting what I'm starting, which then led my co-founders to joining like 14 months later or whatever it was, and we began to build what we were building. So if I hadn't started off with Divink, we never would have got Imagine. So it's, a lot of the time, the things that I'm learning now is you never know where you're going to end up. So just taking those ideas and running with them is always a great idea. So it's really taught me to go, okay, if you have an idea, just run with it. And also choosing the right people around you is very key. So like my CTO, anything I build in the future, he will be involved in. Because he's super smart. We get on really, really well. We've got a great relationship, and I trust him. Within an inch of my life. So I think it's definitely taught me how to choose the right people to build with, and how just to trust the process. And you just never know where you're going to end up. So just run with whatever idea you have.
How did those stories end? Like, how did Broken Chain end? How did Divink end? And how did they evolve into Imagine? Like, when did you make the decision to be like, okay, this has to stop and this has to start?
Yeah, so Divink pivoted into Imagine pretty early on. So basically, I'd met Sarah Bonner. She was the head of retail at the NFL at the time. I met her, and she was like, hey, she saw me speak on stage. She saw that I had a network of young people, and she was like, hey, could these young people help us to create a marketing campaign? I took her out for dinner in the evening and realized the crux of her problem was she couldn't get qualitative insight at scale. So I was like, okay, maybe I could engage with these young people and enable us to do that. So built a rudimentary version of the technology we have now. And it went from there. So Divink molded into Imagine, but Divink was still Divink for an extended period of time. And then my co-founder joined about 14 months into the business and was like, the name Divink is terrible. She's like, I think we should change the name. And then we rebranded the whole business and went from there. So Divink evolved into that. And then with Broken Chain was a wonderful business, but just the whole process of selling chains and jewelry and all that stuff, it was a hard slog. It was a hard slog, and not something I loved the outcome of giving water, but I didn't really enjoy the journey. But it taught me about the idea of brand building. So the importance of building a brand, the importance of being the face of the brand, and so on and so on. But what Imagine has also taught me is that, it's great to be the face of the brand, but you can build businesses and no one needs to know it's you. You could just build an entire business, have a great team, and in the future, whenever that may be, whenever I build my next thing, I will definitely build things that maybe I'm not needed to be the face of the brand. It could just be something that you choose somebody else and let them run, and you're just behind the scenes making it happen. I think that excites me as much as running my own thing. Just finding really talented people and being like, hey, I think you'd be great at this, and then letting them run with it.
Yeah, there's a humility to that. It's kind of stepping back, feeling that you don't always have to be the one that everyone looks to in the room. Because the way I see when Divik started as like just helping disadvantaged kids, and to build that into what it is now, it's such an inspiring story. And I want to hear about like if there's any stories that came out of Divik or Imagine of like people that you've helped, any kids like throughout the years.
Yeah, so all of the kids that I invested in at Divink, all of their businesses failed, to be fair. But so would anybody that was starting a business at 15, 16 years old. So it wasn't on them. It was just the sign of life. You're just building. So all of those failed. But with Imagine, we had some great stories. We had some young people. One young girl, she was 17 years old, and she wanted to go to Cambridge University, and she used the work she'd been doing with Imagine. She put herself down as a consultant for PepsiCo and Amazon Prime Video. She used the consultancy work she'd done with us, providing data and providing insight. She used that to then honour her application to Cambridge University. So we've got loads of stories like that where people have put us down in their CVs, or put us down on university forms, or put us down when they're trying to get jobs. And it's enabled them to go, actually, you know what? You don't have any experience, but you've now got this experience from working with Amazon, with PepsiCo, with Google, with blah, 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 all these different brands, because you were working with Imagine. So we've got lots of stories. And also we've been able to pay thousands of people over the years.
Wow.
Over the years. Because we had thousands of people that have provided insight and then got paid straight away for that insight. So it's not only are we providing were we providing and still are we providing the work experience, we're also providing the cash directly to people's pockets, which is super exciting.
So I always see this common thread of you trying to help people to help themselves, essentially, like with Broken Chain, Divink, even like Imagine. And do you see yourself still doing that with like Disrupt? Is that kind of the core belief that has made you push you to do this decision?
I think I don't want to be pretending like I'm being altruistic or something like that. I wouldn't say that I've come into this role being like, hey, how can I help? But in turn, we will help creators, because we're enabling creators to create amazing work for our clients. So I definitely don't want to pretend to be altruistic with it, but there's definitely a vision there. We're going, hey, how can we create our best work with creators and enable them to tell beautiful stories for our clients? There's definitely importance there. But in the future, I never know what I'll start. I don't think I will always come in from that let's help people first mindset. But if it can do that, then I will always be a champion of doing it.
To go back now to the first interview we done, I think it's relevant here because you said something, and I don't know if your thoughts on it have changed. So you said, I've got ADHD, so I can't sit still. But you have to see it as a strength. It means I can work till 3 a.m. I'm constantly thinking, okay, what next though? So have you taken that moment for like pause, or is it more, do you still feel like this? Do you still feel like it's a superpower?
Definitely still feel like it's a superpower. I've learned over the years, because I'm not medicated, so I've learned over the years how to build habits so I can have a rounded life. You can't be a good father, family man, human being, partner if you don't learn how to have control of some of these. It's almost like it's like having a nuclear bomb go off sometimes. You have to be able to have control of these things. So I've learned habits of waking up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym and making sure I'm in bed by 9 p.m. And I train 6 days a week, football, jiu-jitsu, going to the gym, because these things enable me to expel excess energy so that I can then focus when I need to, and having very strict timelines. And a lot of people find that annoying, but for me personally, it's been a game changer having these strict days, and it enables me then to be spontaneous, because when I'm being spontaneous, I have a very strict life. So when I am spontaneous, I can just blow out and be free with no guilt whatsoever, because I know that actually 95% of the time my life is very, very regimented, which is good. And that doesn't work for everybody. For me, it works perfectly because of the way my brain works. But it's definitely a healthy way of me living. So I definitely see ADHD as a superpower, because I can very much just pick things up and run with things very quickly, which is great. And I think my team benefit from that as well here at Disrupt. Because I'm able just to go, okay, cool, let's run with it and let's get going. But at the same time, I've got great people around me that are more operational focused, that are more they get stuff done. So I can do the dreaming and coming up with ideas, and in some ways I am operational, but handing over to people that are much better at that than I am, to allow them to run with it.
Yeah, it's about knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses, and where some people help fill up your cup, and you can help fill up their cups as well. You mentioned there as well about having habits and being a father, being a partner as well. So when we interviewed in 2018, your son was 11. I think you had your son when you were 16 years old. Now he's 18 going on 19. So how has that journey been like? What? Yeah. Speak about that.
It's interesting. The thing with having children is it will make you realize that you can be a selfish piece of shit at times. And it will make you face yourself, which is which is great. It's humbling because having children is very, very humbling because you can want them to do certain things and they're going to make their own choices because they're their own human beings. So my son is definitely takes after me in certain ways. So he works in sales now. He didn't want to go to university like I did and like the rest of my family did. And I've just supported him in that. I'm like, yo, whatever you want to do, university is not always the track for everybody. And
100%.
definitely these days, university is probably not as beneficial to most people as it used to be. But I think he's like, I want to get into sales. And I'm like, that's the perfect place to start. Because there's one thing we're going to need in the future is people that can sell to people. So I'm like, if you can learn to perfect that craft and to learn how to sell something and make people want something, or not even make people want something, sorry, find the challenge that people have and then tap into that challenge and tap into that need, you're always going to be winning. Because that ability to influence people and to help people to find the solution to their problem, that's something that's always going to be needed. So I'm super proud of him with doing that, and our relationship's great. He and I get on really, really well, and we hang out a lot. We play football together on the weekends a lot. He wants to travel the world, so I'm super excited for him with that. So we're going to help him. We're going to support him with that as he makes those travels, and he's doing really well. I'm proud of him. He's had bumps and, as we all do, he's definitely a lot more well-behaved than I was when I was his age. I was getting into a lot more trouble with the police and so on when I was his age. But
did he make it to 16 without a child? Like, if he made it to 16 without a child, so we're good.
Bro, we're statistically we're winning. But this kid, he's got his head screwed on, and I'm proud of him. I'm excited to see the man he's going to become for sure.
Now, speaking of someone without a child, I do think, again, call me out if I'm stupid here, but I do think having children younger and then figuring it out as you go along is in a way kind of better. Like, either have them quite young or quite old. Because when you're building it brick by brick, like I said, call me out if I'm stupid, you live through it. So what do you think about that?
I think I wouldn't encourage anybody to have kids at 16. I think 16, 17 is probably a bit too young, but I think the early 20s, if you want to. I think everybody's journey is different. I think for me and my family, we grew up quite poor. So it was, from my perspective, I wanted to make sure that financially I was set before I had more children. So God willing, that will be happening over the next few years. So from my perspective, it was amazing having a son young, but it was hard because you're having to pay for him to exist, which isn't cheap. Do you know what I mean? And you've got a lot of things you've got to pay for as they're growing up. So I think now I'm in a much better position where I can, when something's needed for the family, we can afford it and not have to worry about it. And I think growing up in the home I grew up in, I definitely think financial security is important to me. My parents did the best they could, but there were 6 kids, so it is what it is. You just do what you can, but at the end of the day, there's only so much money you can have. So I think for me, it was financial security is important, and I think that also going through therapy is important. I've been in therapy now for 5 or 6 years, and I think the maturity that you gain when you get into your older years, I say older years, I'm in my 30s, but the maturity you gain from going through therapy and getting financially stable and having a good partner and all these things that you begin to gain as you go along, I'm in a much better position now to have children than I was back then. But I love my son, and I'm grateful to it.
And I think that's it. It's like, because now you're still such a young man, but now you also have like a son as well, who's also a man as well, like, legally. So it's like you kind of have this weird dynamic where you can trust someone so much that is like your son. I don't think that's quite an interesting thing for having kids young. But yeah, like you said, wouldn't recommend it. Wouldn't tell someone to do it. But if you do it, it's not the end of the world. That's kind of what I'm getting at. How do you find it, like, actually running the business then and raising your son then? How is that dynamic?
Well, he and I are best friends, so it's not. I would never argue it was detrimental. It's just balance. Once I learned to build in habits into my life, I was around 25, 26 when I really began to take my eating habits, my day-to-day habits very seriously. Once I did that, it became much easier because you have a structure to your life. If you don't have structure, it's very hard to live life. So from his perspective, it was very much, he's just grown up seeing his dad very structured, very regimented, and he's picked up some of those bits, and he's got some of my personality traits, so he's definitely stubborn in other ways. But I think it was much easier to be a great dad. I was the best dad I could be, and also to build a business when I had habits in place. So if I was going to encourage anybody, I'd say, okay, try and get as many habits as you can in place, and then it'll make life much easier for you.
When you say you got habits around eating, is that more when you eat or like what you're eating as well, or both?
All of the above, yeah. So I intermittent fast, and
Okay.
also I always caveat this by saying it works for my body type, it works for me as a human being, and I think everybody should take their own eating habits and go to a doctor and speak before they start taking advice from some geezer on the internet. So I caveat that
Yeah.
first. But from my perspective, yeah, I intermittent fast. I have a eating window that I eat during the day, and I love doing that. It just means I can get on with my work. I don't have to think about food during the day, and then I eat later on in the evening, which is great. Um, and it helps me stay in the shape that I want to be in, and I do combat sports and football and stuff, so it's good for that because it helps me to stay at a certain weight all year round. So for me, eating habits are definitely very, very crucial, and it means that I can continually make sure that I'm in the position I want to be in mentally and physically by controlling what I eat. Doesn't mean I don't have snacks and all that kind of good stuff. I have snacks every
Yeah,
single
yeah.
day, but I just make sure I stay under a certain calorie intake, and it keeps me happy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I think the fact that you personalize it, I think it always gets difficult when people say, "This is my experience, but you should do it." It's like no, it's
Mm,
like it
mm.
changes with everyone. You can't really say you can't tell
Yeah,
someone
it's dangerous.
intermittent fasting is gonna mean X and it's gonna do this. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
different for everyone. And there'll probably be
yeah.
people who call you out on intermittent fasting and go, "You shouldn't do it because of X."
Mm,
It's like it just
yeah,
it just works for who I
yeah,
am. That's
yeah.
it. So
Exactly
I
that.
was gonna ask, are you better at jujitsu or football?
Good question, loaded question. That this is appealing. This is appealing to my ego now. I'm a red blooded male. So I used to play football professionally, so I'm definitely better at football than I am at
Okay, yeah, yeah,
jiu-jitsu.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I'm quite strong for my build, so I can so jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
is good. The great part about both sports is they're humbling. So I can be good at both, and you can turn up onto the pitch, and someone could just embarrass you, and there's nothing you can
Yeah.
do. The same with jiu-jitsu. I've had my all the ligaments in my right arm torn by a 17-year-old
Yeah, just the guy.
girl.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
just did
just the
tap out,
girl.
and she yeah, and she blew all the and I was I was having a moment where my masculinity went to my head, and
Mm.
I didn't tap out, and she wrenched my arm, and pap, all the ligaments went. And I think that it's humbling because you look and go, wait, I should have tapped out. You come back to yourself and realize, okay, don't have ego in this. You got to be
Yeah.
humble with the sport, which is good. So both sports are humbling, but it's definitely you learn a lot in both.
Yeah, because you can't win that scenario. No one's gonna be like, "Oh my goodness, you got
No,
out of that arm crank from the 17-year-old
yeah,
girl," or "She
exactly.
made you
Yeah, yeah,
tap,"
for
or
real.
"She broke your arm."
And
It's
the
like
thing is,
it's
she's a black belt now. She
at
was a
least she's
purple
dope.
belt when
Okay,
yeah,
that's
she was a
good.
purple belt when I sparred against her. But she's an absolute she's a
Yeah,
warrior. She's like
that's
so
good.
impressive, man. Like,
That
yeah, I
that
love
is
that.
good. You want her to be good and talented because if she wasn't, then yeah, that would hurt the
Regardless,
ego.
regardless, there are some of the best black belts I know technically are women. So yeah, it's definitely good for
That's
sure.
what I'm saying. It's like at least she's talented. So the more
Yeah, for sure.
successful
You
she
don't
are,
you don't want to be
you're
somebody that's bad.
yeah. That's just like a white belt or just an accountant. Just grew up to be an accountant one day. Just not really that into it. Just broke your arm just on a
I love it.
Tuesday. Didn't even think about it. That will hurt my ego. That's just me.
Same, bro. Same, man.
You mentioned like, we could talk about like the physical side of it, but also like the mental side because you mentioned about like mental health. I just want to go into like your journey there. Like what pushed you to start doing therapy more consistently? Was it just building habits, or did someone push you to it?
I've got a lot of childhood experiences I went through, which I won't go into detail on the podcast, probably not relevant, but
Hmm.
um, things that happened to me when I was a kid that I needed to work through and figure out. I had close friends killed when I was a teenager, and I had to figure that out and unpack that. Um, and I was able to work through different things with different therapists, and that's the great thing about therapy. There's a therapist for everything, and I've been able to really just figure myself out and just figure out what I want and who I want to be. And off the
Mm.
back of that, I'm in a much better place now. So definitely, therapy was caused by I began therapy because I needed to work some stuff out because I was going through some scenarios that just didn't make sense to me, and I was acting in a way that didn't make sense to me. So then when I deep dived into it, it just turned out there was some experiences in my childhood that I'd completely forgot about, and completely overwritten. And now I'm in a much better place, thank God. Where?
That
Are
is
you there?
really good to hear. It did crack out a bit, but I did. Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Hello?
hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, it's good that you're, I guess, the question I have is like, when you say you figured it out, I'm like, do you still feel like it's a journey that you're still learning about yourself? But back then, it's good to like start in a place and start asking yourself these questions.
Yeah, 100%. You're always learning. You're always growing. You're always trying to get used to yourself and figure out what the hell you're doing. So it's definitely a. I think even to the day you die, you're still trying to figure out what the hell you're doing. Um.
Hmm.
So I think it's a whole process. All of it's a journey, and I think I began that journey a few years ago, and I'm still on it now.
No, that's amazing to hear. Thank you for that. I want to before we get wrap, so I want to talk about like the peaks and how they affected you because for Forbes under 30 under 30, I think you've done this in 2021. What was that process like? Like, how did it feel to be interviewed, and did it change? Like, I'm just really excited to hear.
Um. So the funny thing about Forbes 30 under 30 is that since then, like loads of people have gone to prison for scams and schemes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's my 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 big problem with any of um these achievements based upon like metrics of like how much money is raised and yada yada yada. It's very easy to game the system. I
Mm,
These days, I think then I really needed it. I needed to be affirmed and needed the validation of. I needed the external validation. Now I don't. As I've got older, I don't really need that as much anymore. We're humans, so I'm always going to need the external validation. But
yeah.
I think then I really needed people to go, look, I'm doing this, I'm building that, so on and so on. And I think personally now I would never have anybody put me forward for something like that. If somebody awarded it to you, they award it to you, but I would never put myself forward for something like that. And the way it came about is one of my team, Rahab, I was working with her at the time, and she was like, hey, I think this would be great. I think she put in an application form or whatever, and then they then vet you, and if they think you're legit, you then go into the Forbes 30 under 30.
Wow.
And if I'm being transparent, the reason why I think you can game the system and I don't think it makes sense is because back then I hadn't achieved anything.
Wow.
Even now, I would argue there's still way more I want to achieve. But I think back then I hadn't really achieved anything. I'd started something, done it for a little while, but I hadn't really accomplished much. And they, yeah, they'd done their research and their due diligence, but really, what had I done? And I think if I look into a lot of the people that are on those lists, I don't know if we should be creating lists around people like myself back then. I don't think it really makes sense. So I think I'm not a massive fan of lists like that. I think it was what it was. We did it because it was what was needed at the time. From a business perspective, do I think it benefited us? Imagine, yeah, maybe a few people reached out because they'd seen us on the list, but
Mm.
I don't think it would. I don't think it was a massive difference maker. To be fair.
So for you, it's more about the 30 over 30 than the 30 under 30, because that's where you
Um,
make your real
to tell you,
impact.
yeah, I don't necessarily know if I agree with lists per se. I just think I just I'm impressed by people that build great things or are great at what they do. They don't even need to be building things. They're just great at what they do. Those are the people that
Mm.
impress me. If I look at you and I'm like, you are perfecting your craft and you're very good at what you do, that's impressive. Being on a list doesn't really impress me because I know it's very easy to game a system. It's almost like being
Yeah.
verified on the social media. Like it's like you can get verified by just like for any reasons. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing anything of worth.
It's good that you've been chosen. That's why your opinion is valid here, because you've done it. You've seen how the sausage is made, so you're just kind of like, well, it's not for me. Like, so you can really respect
Yeah,
that
yeah. I
opinion.
I don't understand wanky. You know when people like they like people sell the business for hundreds of millions and then they go, oh, Like money isn't everything. Like it's easy to say that because you've got hundreds of millions. So I don't want to be that person, as in
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, whatever. But I just think it's the for me personally. For other people, do it if you want to do it. It's for you personally. For me personally, I'm not. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
So that's a really good question because what would you say now to 2018, Jay? Like, what advice would you give him? What would he think about the situation you're in now as well?
I think you'd be impressed by the situation I'm in now. Um, I think my advice would be everything will take longer than you expect, but it will also happen quicker than you expect. So just be in it for the long run and choose the people around
Hmm.
you wisely.
Yeah, that's the lesson. Do you think that's been your biggest lesson in these three companies that you've had in the past 10 years?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to because you're gonna when you're building anything, whenever you're doing anything of worth in your life, you're gonna be in the trenches with people, and then you'll
Yeah.
begin to see who people really are. And the key thing is to go. I'm gonna choose the people that are gonna be in the trenches with me very wisely, um, so that you can really benefit from people that are different to you, but that you are complementary.
What advice do you go to building that team? Like, what do you look out for? Obviously, it might change for different people, but what is your process in knowing this is someone I can trust?
I think the finding people that are complementary is a people that have a skill set that you don't have. I think everybody on
Mm.
any podcast has ever said that. Finding people that have a skill set that you don't have, and um, I would say people that you don't necessarily need to be friends with them, but you need to be able to trust them. And the way to build that trust, I would say, is just over time. You can't. You're not day one. You're not going to know if you trust somebody. I would say you need to work with somebody for an extended period of time before you can realize that you trust them. So now my CTO Pete, I know he and I will continue to do things together in the future because I know I
Yeah.
trust him. And I think it's one of those things where when you find those people, you hold on to them, but you only find those people by experiencing with them. So I would say don't commit too early. Don't give away too much equity or give them too much of a big salary or do any of those really high committal things before you figured out who they are as a human being. Because once you figure out who they are as a human being, you can then give things away. But I think if you do that too early on, you shoot yourself in the foot. I've heard far too many horror stories of people committing too early, giving up too much equity, working with somebody that doesn't work out, and then you're
Mm.
stuck. It's easier to give than it is to try and take back.
And I think there's a real lesson in like knowing yourself because you have to know what someone coming into the picture will actually add. And if you don't know
Mm,
yourself, you can
mm.
like you can add someone to your story and they're just not beneficial at all down the line. Whereas and you can miss out on some really good
Exactly that.
opportunities.
Exactly that, bro. Exactly that.
So yeah, Jay, that was my final question. Thank you so much for coming back on. 8 years ago, you had two companies, two missions, and look where you are now, managing director of Disrupt. So thank you to Broken Chain, to Divink, that kind of got you here, that allowed me to interview the man you are today. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, bro. Appreciate you more.
All right.